Hey guys, welcome back to another Clash Royale update sneak peek video. And in this video, we're going to be covering all of the balance changes coming out in the next update. And it is a massive list. We have almost 20 cards in total being changed in the next balance update. So if you guys are interested at all about the balance of the game, make sure you stick around. I will give you all of the balance change details. The first card here on the balance list, guys, is a buff for the 3 elixir cannon. His damage is being increased by 32%, but attack speed is being decreased by 25%, going from 0.8 second to 1 second. Overall, the cannon will deal a lot more damage per shot, but will attack much slower. Overall, though, it is a net DPS increase. The next card, guys, on our balance list is a rework of the cannon card. This is a very interesting change. The cannon card, after the update, will basically be identical to 2 regular cannons. Each phase of the cannon card has identical stats to the 3 elixir cannon. So the damage of the cannon card is being decreased by 17%. The range is being increased by 10%, going from 5 tiles to 5.5 tiles. Overall, making it a lot more easy kind of to lock onto a tower. The hit speed is being increased as well by 17%, going from 1.2 seconds to 1 second. And the health and shield strength are both being increased by 1.5% as well. Overall, guys, like I said, it'll be the exact same as having 2 cannons for 5 elixir. Now, going forward, guys, we should be expecting a lot more card redesigns / reworks in these balance changes. They've said that basically they want to kind of focus on redesigning a lot of the long-term problem cards in Clash Royale, and cannon card right now, guys, is this month's candidate for a rework. Now, the third card on our balance list here, guys, is the Giant Snowball getting a nerf. Radius is being decreased by 3 tiles to 2.5 tiles. Overall, I think it's a pretty huge nerf for the Giant Snowball. It is extremely small in comparison to what it is right now after the balance update. Similarly, we also have a nerf for the Barbarian Barrel. The 2 most popular and powerful cards right now, guys, in Clash Royale are both getting nerfed in the July balance update. The Barbarian Barrel is also getting a radius decrease as well to better match the visual effect. As is right now in Clash Royale, there are many times where, for example, a princess might appear to be far enough away from a Barbarian Barrel but still dies. They are fixing that in the next balance update, guys. The radius of the Barbarian Barrel will be a lot smaller than what it is right now to better match the visual. The next card on our balance list is a nerf for the Inferno Tower, whose lifetime is being decreased by 25%, going from 40 seconds to 30 seconds, which overall is going to have many different ripple effects on the meta, because now things like Zaspel, for example, will be a lot stronger in the meta, because as is right now, the Inferno Tower lasts so long that even if you zap it and reset it, it still ramps back up to full DPS and still kills your tank. However, after this lifetime decrease, the Zaspel will be much more effective at countering an Inferno Tower, which also means there'll be less Inferno Towers overall in the meta, which means less lightning spells, more fireballs. The overall meta, guys, will be much different after this change. Also, one more thing that it means is the Inferno Tower will now lose a lot more health per second than it did before. The next card here on our balance list is the Gulping Cage getting a buff. Lifetime is being increased by 25%, going from 15 seconds to 20 seconds, and the damage of the Goblin Brawler that spawns out afterwards is being increased by 25% as well. So that is overall a pretty massive buff for the Gulping Cage. Not sure if it's enough to bring it into the meta, but the Goblin Brawler will be a good damage dealer after this 25% damage buff, making it a better defensive card overall with the extra lifetime and the extra damage to kill tanks. The lifetime increase especially means it loses less health per second when it is on the field, which once again makes it a much easier and much more effective at countering tanks. Now, that is kind of like the first half of the balance changes. As I mentioned, there's almost 20 cards in total being changed here. The next thing happening, guys, is a kind of rework / standardization of melee ranged attacks. As it is right now, any card that has a range less than 2 tiles is classified as a melee unit. But this can be extremely confusing, especially to newer players, because everything says melee range, but certain melee units have a longer range than others. For example, the Prince has the one of the longest melee ranges in the game, able to attack over the river. Things like guards and miners, for example, also have longer ranges than normal. They are standardizing all of these ranges after the balance update. There will now be 3 different classifications of melee range. There will be melee long range, melee medium range, and melee short range. So melee long range will be anything with a range of 1.6 tiles, melee medium will be 1.2 tiles, and melee short will be anything with 0.8 tile range or lower. So here are a couple of cards that will be under the melee long range classification. The Mega Minion is going from a 2 tile range to a 1.6 tile. Overall slight nerf for the Mega Minion. Similarly, Minions and Minion Horde are both going from a 2 tile range to a 1.6 tile range. Overall slight nerf for Minions and Minion Horde. The Night Witch is going from a 1.65 tile range to a 1.6 tile range. Overall, you won't really notice any difference at all with the Night Witch because it's only being decreased by 0.05. So overall, guys, you'll never notice that difference at all. Just a kind of math and standardization change. The Prince is going from a range of 1.85 to 1.6. So overall, slight nerf for the Prince as well. Now, here are a couple of cards that are classified as having a melee medium range. The Dark Prince is going from a 1.25 tile range to a 1.2 tile range. And similarly, his area damage splash radius is going from 1.25 tiles to 1.2 tiles. Overall, slight nerf for the Dark Prince. The Goblin Giant going from 1.25 tiles to 1.2 tiles. Overall, slight nerf for the Goblin Giant. The Elite Barbarians are going from a 1 tile range to a 1.2 tile range. Overall, slight buff for the Elite Barbarians. Both the Knight and the Mega Knight are going from a 1 tile range to a 1.2 tile range. Overall, slight buff for both the Knight and the Mega Knight. The Miner range is being decreased from 1.3 tiles to 1.2 tile. Overall, very tiny, almost unnoticeable nerf for the Miner. Next, we have the Mini P.E.K.K.A getting a slight buff, whose range is going from 1.05 tiles to 1.2 tiles. And finally, the Valkyrie is the last card being changed under the medium list, going from 1 tile range to a 1.2 tile range. Similarly, the splash radius of the Valkyrie is being increased from 1 tile range to 1.2 tile range as well. So those are the cards that are being changed in the medium classification. And finally, our last card here, guys, is the Rascal Boy, who will be a short tile melee range, going from 1 tile to 0.8 tiles. So overall, those are all of the cards that are being changed with these classifications. All other troops with a range of 0.8 tiles or less will remain the same basically and will be classified as melee short range. There are a few other cards in there that they basically aren't being changed at all that will have a classification of some sort. But overall, that is a pretty massive balance update. We have a redesign of the cannon card, a buff for the cannon, a nerf for the giant snowball, a nerf for the barbarian barrel, a nerf for the inferno tower, a buff for the Gulping Cage, a nerf for the mega minion, nerf for the minions, slight, almost unnoticeable ever nerf for the Night Witch, a small nerf for the Prince, a small nerf for the Dark Prince, a small nerf for Goblin Giant, a very tiny buff for Elite Barbarians, tiny buff for Knight, tiny buff for Mega Knight, tiny buff for the Mini P.E.K.K.A, tiny buff for the Valkyrie, tiny nerf for the Miner, and then finally we have a tiny nerf for the Rascal Boy. That is, I think, like 19 cards in total being changed in this balanced update. Is going to be having a huge effect on the meta. And I gotta say, I am so excited to see how things change in the month of July. Let me know, guys, what do you think of the balance list down below? Are you happy? Are you disappointed? Were you hoping for more? Let me know what you think. Also, guys, if you missed my other sneak peek videos for the new update, I have 2 other videos you want to check out. One covering the brand new card, the legendary card, the Fisherman. We go through all the gameplay with the new card, and we discuss all of the stats. If you want to see that one, link down below in description. Also, I have another video covering the Battle Pass being added, Season 1, the new arena, the Flood, all of those details as well in a separate video. Once again, link down below. Go ahead, check it out if you are interested. But that is the end of this video. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to my Clash Royale content. Thank you so much for watching, guys. We will see you in the next one.